There's a very peculiar old lady at the market. Just standing there every day, she intimidates everyone. All the vendors greet her with beaming smiles. Illegal vendors avoid her like the plague. Even the market bullies dare not drop a cigarette but in her presence. The reason they fear her so much is simply because she's far too nosy. Any violation that catches her eye is inevitably documented with her camera. These photos would then be sent to the complaints office. She would then pressure the staff to handle the complaint to her satisfaction. Over the past 2 decades, she submitted over 8,000 reports. When she enters the petition office, everyone keeps their distance. So behind her back, they call her Devil Granny. But on this particular day, Devil Granny encountered a troublemaker. Min Jae, the new intern at the petition office, didn't know her. He pulled out his phone and filmed her shouting and ranting, and asked her to queue up. Her face darkened instantly.
주임 박민재, 앞으로 자주 보자.
The next day, Devil Grandma returned to the office. She filled out the form and took all the queue numbers in her hand. Seeing the towering stack of complaint documents before him, Min Jae finally realized he'd stirred up trouble. Yet beneath this unpopular woman's exterior lay a shocking identity. Her name was Luo Yufan. In her 70s and single her entire life, she eked out a living running a tailor shop. Because she was nosy, she was disliked by almost all the neighbors. But recently, Ms. Luo had become unusually driven. She'd suddenly become obsessed with learning English. To pursue this, she scrimped and saved to enroll in an English class. Yet her age made learning exceptionally difficult.
저기 좀 천천히 하면 안 되나? 슬로우.
슬로우해.
To avoid disrupting other students, the class had to politely ask her to withdraw. Just as she was feeling down about this, on her way back, she suddenly ran into a familiar face. It was Min Jae, the man she had been clashing with at the petitions bureau. There he was conversing fluently in English with someone else. This instantly perked up Ms. Luo. She pleaded with Min Jae to teach her English, showering him with compliments. But Min Jae dared not get entangled with her. He politely declined her request. Little did Min Jae know that his connection with Ms. Luo had only just begun. One night not long after, Min Jae sees his brother on his way home from get off work. Curious, he followed him. After winding through several alleys, Min Jae saw his brother enter a tailor shop. But when he knocked on the door,
누구요?
it turns out that his brother and Ms. Luo have known each other for a long time. Because Min Jae often works overtime and comes home late. This leaves his brother with only instant noodles to fill his stomach. One day, Ms. Luo saw this poor child at the market and took him home for dinner. From that day on, his brother frequently ate at Ms. Luo's house. At this moment, Min Jae seemed to have changed his opinion of this devil grandma. When he saw the various English words Ms. Luo had written on the wall, he was moved. Perhaps she wasn't as irritating as she appeared. So Min Jae decided to start teaching her English for free. From that day on, Min Jae became Ms. Luo's true English tutor.
How are you부터 시작해보죠. How are you?
Fine, thank you, and you?
Good.
Though he wondered why she'd study English at her age. But to thank her for taking care of her brother, Min Jae taught her very attentively. After some time, Mrs. Luo's English improved remarkably. Min Jae took her to bars frequented by foreigners to practice speaking. At first, she was extremely nervous, but gradually she realized she could truly communicate with others. Her confidence began to grow. Through daily practice, Mrs. Luo and Min Jae grew closer. Unconsciously, they seemed to have become family to each other, especially on holidays. Min Jae even declined his company dinner to bring his brother to reunite with Ms. Luo. When Ms. Luo, who was eating instant noodles at home, saw the brothers arrive, tears of excitement nearly welled up in her eyes. This seemed to be the first time she truly felt the care of her family. During casual conversation, Min Jae learned why she studied English. Ms. Luo had a younger brother she hadn't seen in decades. He'd been adopted to live in America as a child. All she had left was the adoption agency's address and phone number. Her purpose in learning English was to one day reunite with her brother. Seeing the sadness etched across Ms. Luo's face, Min Jae resolved to do something for her. The next day, he dialed the number Ms. Luo had kept. But to his utter astonishment, the response on the other end left him speechless. The person on the line refused to acknowledge their relationship, even demanding he never call again. Their coldness weighed heavily on Min Jae's heart. He knew Ms. Luo would be devastated if she learned the truth. Faced with this situation, Ms. Luo seems to have no need to learn English. To spare her pain, Min Jae decided to conceal the truth. He lied, saying he had exams coming up and couldn't teach her anymore. After leaving Ms. Luo's home, Min Jae felt exceptionally heavy-hearted. Yet he understood this might also be a form of protection for her. Not long after, Ms. Luo went to the hospital. Her closest childhood friend had fallen ill. Upon reaching the hospital room, she learned her friend was in the terminal stages of her illness. Yet before passing, the friend had one unfulfilled wish. though neither had spoken it outright. But Ms. Luo understood what that wish was. When she returned to the market with a heavy heart, she received another piece of bad news. The developer is preparing to drive all the merchants out of the market under the pretext of too many petitions. She also heard that the unscrupulous developer had colluded with the petition office. The next day, Ms. Luo stormed the petition office again. Even though Min Jae kept explaining to her, it didn't calm Ms. Luo down. As her emotions escalated, she finally lashed out and slapped Min Jae across the face. This slap completely ignited Min Jae's fury.
그리고 하나 더 있어요. 할머니 영어 공부하실 필요 없습니다. 제가 통화해 봤는데 동생분이 할머니랑 연락하기 싫대요. 만나고 싶지도 않고 기억하고 싶지도 않답니다. 기억도 안 나고요. 그러니까 애초에 영어 따위 그렇게 기를 쓰고 배울 필요 없었다는 말이에요.
Returning home, Min Jae realized he had hurt Ms. Luo. Consumed by guilt, he resolved to secretly investigate the matter. He went to his office's archives and combed through the complaint letters Ms. Luo had submitted over the years. Only then did he understand. Over the years, Ms. Luo has done this just to urge merchants to abide by the law and maintain the market environment. Only in this way will the developers have no reason to drive them out. He went to the market to apologize to Ms. Luo, but happened to see vendors being bullied by developers. Now he realized how right Ms. Luo was. After driving the developers away, Min Jae rushed to Ms. Luo's tailor shop, but found it already closed. At that moment, Ms. Luo was at the hospital with her dearest friend. Her condition had deteriorated rapidly, and her time was running out. Yet she left a letter for Ms. Luo. As Ms. Luo opened the farewell note, her eyes instantly filled with tears. Just then, a man abruptly entered the hospital room. He introduced himself as a newspaper reporter. He came here at the invitation of the HR 121 coalition to help pass Resolution 121. The resolution requires the Japanese to publicly apologize to the world for their crimes against humanity.
시간을 좀 주시죠.
그냥 둬. 어차피 더 숨을 생각도 없어.
Days later, a surprising announcement appeared in the newspapers. Ms. Luo would represent the Comfort Women as their primary delegate at a U.S. congressional hearing. The news sent shockwaves through the community. No one had imagined that the usually meddlesome Ms. Luo harbored such a hidden identity. On the eve of her departure, Ms. Luo visited her mother's grave alone. She poured out her grievances to her mother's spirit. Because of her status as a comfort woman, her entire family had abandoned her. Her mother, too, saw this as a woman's shame, but clearly, she was the one who had been harmed. But she became the one that everyone hated. That evening, Min Jae came to Ms. Luo's tailor shop. He was filled with overwhelming guilt. He couldn't imagine how Ms. Luo had endured to this day.
죄송합니다. 죄송합니다.
Ms. Luo said nothing. She forgave him with a hug. Ms. Luo then took out a photo she'd kept for 60 years. This was a scar she'd never mentioned to anyone. The picture showed 8 girls in the prime of their youth. In the bloom of their lives, they'd been seized by Japanese soldiers to become comfort women. At the time, Ms. Luo was only 13. Her best friend, now gravely ill in the hospital, was among them. After the war ended, her best friend spent the rest of her life working tirelessly to get the Japanese government to apologize to the world. Ms. Luo took out the letter her friend had left her. These were all the words she intended to speak at the hearing. But as her best friend's condition became more serious, from that moment, Ms. Luo knew that one day she would have to step forward and do everything her friend had intended to do. This was precisely why she had been studying English so intensely.
박지마, 나 마지막으로 한 번만 도와줄 수 없겠냐?
During the visa application process, whenever she has free time, she goes to the petition hall to practice her speech. At this moment, no one scolded the meddlesome devil grandmother. Everyone offered only blessings for her journey. Soon after, Ms. Luo finally embarked on her journey to the United States. But just as they were brimming with confidence, the Japanese representative questioned Ms. Luo's identity. Upon hearing the news from distant South Korea, Min Jae immediately mobilized all his colleagues to launch a petition across the district. With countless signatures from the public, the South Korean government promptly reorganized Ms. Luo's documents and resubmitted them. To bolster the credibility of her identity, Min Jae personally retrieved that old photograph from her home. On the day of the hearing, Ms. Luo finally appeared as a representative of South Korea's comfort women at the testimony session. The first person to come forward to accuse was a woman named Mitchell. At 21, she was abducted by Japanese soldiers and forced into sexual slavery. Each day, she endured brutal abuse from dozens of Japanese soldiers in turn. To minimize her suffering, she even deliberately cut her hair short to make herself appear less attractive. Yet this did nothing to lessen the Japanese soldiers' cruelty. As her emotions surged, she eventually became so enraged she could no longer speak. As she descended the podium, her gaze locked with Ms. Luo's. Though citizens of different nations, their hatred converged in that moment. Next, it was Ms. Luo's turn to speak. She had never shared her story before such a large audience. Stepping forward, nervousness rendered her speechless. Her usually fluent English flowed only when Min Jae was present. But now, without him, her mind went blank. Amidst the Japanese audience's jeers, the crowd grew increasingly impatient. Even the conference chair was forced to urge her several times. Just as she was about to be cleared from the podium, a familiar voice suddenly rang out from outside the door.
How are you, Ongwan?
I am fine, thank you. And you?
To encourage her, Min Jae had flown all the way from Korea to the United States, bringing photographs proving Ms. Luo's identity. His arrival instantly gave her courage. She slowly lifted her shirt. The knife scars and carved characters on her abdomen stood as irrefutable evidence against them. With unwavering resolve, Ms. Luo exposed the atrocities committed by the Japanese military.
I am standing here today for those young girls. Their childhoods were stolen away by the crimes of the Japanese army. Japan committed crimes against humanity. But there has been no sincere apology for the comfort women issue. We have lived our entire lives in torment because of those memories of hate. But Japan's elegant attitude as they avoid responsibility gives us more pain and anger. We are not asking for too much. Just for you to acknowledge your wrongdoings. We are giving you the chance to ask for our forgiveness while we are still alive. I'm sorry. Is that so hard? If we don't want to leave a heavy burden on your future generations, then apologize before it is too late. And I ask this of all of you. Please remember the history into which we were forced. This must be remembered. For such history must not be repeated again.
Ms. Luo's speech earned thunderous applause from the audience. In that moment, she spoke not only for herself, she was voicing the hatred of countless comfort women. After her speech, the representatives from various countries who had questioned her identity all apologized to her. In reality, the Comfort Women Apology Resolution passed the U.S. House of Representatives unanimously on July 30, 2007. This marked the first time the international community publicly acknowledged Japan's wartime sexual slavery. Yet over the following decade, Japan still refused to apologize to the world. Those girls who lost their freedom and even their lives in their best years. Their experience is not just a personal tragedy, but also a pain for the entire nation. This remains an indelible dark chapter in human history.
Do you speak English?
Of course.